Hey guys, me Slim here again, and today I wanted to make a follow-up video for the risk versus reward video that I made the other day, part 2. Let's write that. And in that video, we talked about how when making a decision in League, you should always factor in the pros and the cons of the decision. And in factoring in those pros and cons, we made this formula where we take the chance of a good outcome, multiply it by the net gold gain of that good outcome, subtracted by the chance of a bad outcome, multiplied by the gold loss of that outcome to get an average gold return. And we use this formula often aided by intuition and game sense in order to fill in the variables. And we use this to help you make the smart decisions that will, on average, net you advantages, right? We want this to be positive. Okay, and in that video, I described using this to make decisions, and that is actually, however, incomplete. And although this will, on average, provide advantages, provided that you fill this in with accurate information and not very greedy lines of thinking to where you think you have a greater chance than actually exists, or you think you have a smaller chance of failure than also actually exists. But even if you do it right, it's extremely inefficient, and I'm here going to explain why. So let's take, for example, the situation where you're a jungler and you see the enemy jungler on the bottom side of the map and you're on the top half of the map. Okay? You see he's going for a gank. You're too late to counter gank. So you're faced with some decisions. Okay? You survey top side. You see that the enemy laner's quite pushed. And you see you have a good chance for a gank. So you start to think about this formula in regards to making that gank happen. Alright? You factor in that the 450 gold you get from a kill. You factor in the 180 gold from pushing the minion wave in. You factor in the chance that nothing happens. You actually don't factor that in because that's factored into the percentages. Okay? You factor in the chance that you guys get double killed. Okay? And you try and figure out an average gold return. Okay? So let's say he's pushed up, pretty good chance it's going to happen. The kill, let's say it's just 50% chance, right? 50% chance of 450 gold. Okay? And in that 50% chance, he would also lose a minion wave. But let's just say there's also a chance that he is forced out of lane and loses the minion wave but does not die. So that would be, this 180 would be a greater than 50% chance. Let's call that 70% chance. Okay, 180. Minus the chance that you guys get 2v1'd. And this laner is not very strong in this scenario, so it's a very low chance and would usually require your teammate to overcommit to a dive or something out of the ordinary. Okay, let's just call this 10% chance. Okay, so you're looking at your average expected gold return, and you got 50% for 450, that's 225. Okay, plus 70% chance of 180, that's 54 minus 180, that's 126. Minus the 10% chance for 600, that's minus 60. And you realize, on average, you're going to be gaining 225 plus 126, that's 250, 350, 351 minus 60, that's 291. If I fuck up my math, I'm very sorry, guys. 291 gold, average expected gold return. And by using this formula, you're like, wow, that seems like a great decision. That's money in my pocket. That is extremely positive returns on average for this. I should make it happen. Right? And that is why this line of thinking is incomplete. Because yes, this is a positive gold return, and if you do this, you will gain gold for yourself and an advantage over your team. But just because it's a good decision doesn't mean it's the best decision. So by stopping here, you fail to realize that there are other possible decisions that could have greater gold returns. So, for instance, you look at the possibility of just farming your jungle, right? You look at however much each camp is worth. You look at camp 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? And these are all guaranteed, right? You're not going to get counter jungled on them. you're not going to get contested on them, even though that is a possibility. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say you're not going to get contested on them. Okay, you look at the average gold for this, and this is actually going to take way longer than this one, so let's cut it down. Camp X, Y, and Z, and you realize you're going to gain, on average, 240 gold for taking those camps. Right? So it's not as worth it, right? So you get rid of this decision. It's not the right decision. And instead, you look at the next possible decision. Okay? You look at the possibility of counter jungling. Okay? And in counter jungling, you're getting basically double value out of the camps because you're also denying the camps. Okay? So you get that same 240 gold minus the 240 gold possible of taking it away from him, and you're left with average gold return in this X, Y, and Z of 480. But let's just say there's a chance that you get invaded on, or get counter jungle on the other side when the enemy knows you're in your jungle. He knows you're not there, and it breaks even. Okay, there's a chance that happens, there's a chance it doesn't. Makes the average gold return down to 300. Right, 480 that you're gonna get guaranteed, 100% chance, minus the chance that he's gonna counter jungle you on your side, and whatever those variables need to be to make 300. Okay, so like, oh, this is slightly smarter decision actually than to just go for the gank that was your first instinct. But if this works out perfectly, you do have the opportunity to snowball. So kind of in the air, gold gains were really similar, and this one has greater potential. Okay, but then you look at a fourth decision, ganking mid at the same time, and that one has a, let's just throw out numbers here, a 450 gold for the kill, 180 for the wave, okay, minus the chance of getting 2v1'd, okay, plus the potential to take first turret. That the turret's been whittled down. It's a Malzahar, some bullshit other champion that pushes really fast and has been able to whittle down that turret. And that's worth what? 100 times 5 champions plus first turret gold. 800 gold for the team. Okay? And you factor in these odds. And you realize that the average gold return here is actually 500. Okay? And this is why just using this formula to figure out what's a good decision is inefficient for basically making smart decisions, because it's not as effective as it could be. Because by doing this, you realize this is a good decision, and you might just stop there and go for it. You might just make the play. You get 290 gold, 1 gold on average, and you stop there. Whereas by stepping back and thinking critically about the game, you can realize that there are a wealth of other also good decisions that you can make. Some of them, like this one, that has higher expected gold returns. Okay? And this is why it's important to, when you're watching your replays, to be extremely critical of all possible decisions. Because normally, right, you're going over your replays, you're with your coach, or you are the coach, and you're looking at this replay, and you see the jungler that you're focused on make a play top. He gets a kill out of it, and pushes that wave in. Best case scenario, right? And it's like, wow, in that situation you got 450 plus 180, 550. You got 630 gold out of it. Like, that's a good swing for your team. Like, sure, the enemy jungler ganked bot side, but that's out of your control. Enemy bot lane wasn't playing safe, but you made a good decision for your team, and there's no mistake there. Moving on. But that's not thinking critical enough about your own play to realize that there was another possible play that you just didn't see because you weren't thinking enough about all decisions. You were only jumping on the first one. And basically, this entire concept is just about opportunity cost. The time you spend carrying out an action could be used to carry out any other action, and it's important to look at all possible decisions to determine the best one, instead of only analyzing the outcomes of one decision. So, in contrast to my first video, which showed you how to figure out what good decisions are, this video is basically stressing the importance of how to compare all good decisions to find the best decision. And this doesn't just apply to jungling either. There are many decisions you can make in lane as far as managing your wave, or as far as roaming, back timings, and a bunch of other things that you can make that all have positive outcomes. Or, if you're in a losing lane, all have negative outcomes. And with losing, I think it's a little bit easier because you obviously want to minimize losses. But when you're making good decisions, or decisions, I should probably say, when you're making decisions that are getting you advantages, you should also factor in other potential decisions that could have gotten you bigger advantages. And if you didn't choose the one that gets you the biggest advantage, then you've made a mistake. And it's important to look at the game like that if you truly want to get better and truly want to start making the best possible decisions at all times. Thank you.